Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to the Coaching Youth Hoops Podcast.
They're playing basketball.
Basketball. Here's our hosts, Steve Collins. And Bill Flitter.
Hey, everybody. Before we jump into the podcast, I'd like to give a big shout out to teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It kind of brings this podcast to you. Now that we're approaching the double digits here, I want to give a big shout out to teachhoops.com. If you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for help, and if you're looking for my personal email address, if you're looking for any of that, I know Bill and I are going to be doing some specific stuff for youth coaches. But if you're looking for something in the meantime, teachhoops.com is what allows us to keep the lights on and keep these podcasts coming to you. So go over and check it out. Let's head off to the podcast.
Hello, coaches, and welcome to episode 11 of the Coaching Youth Hoops podcast. I am your host, Coach Bill Flitter. Today, Steve is out, but we have a special guest, my friend and fellow basketball trainer, Britnea Moore. Good morning, Britnea. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Britnea is, as I said, is a basketball trainer here in the San Francisco Bay Area. She created the Basketball Academy Access Your Game training in 2013. And she shares the same vision as the podcast. We talked about this earlier in podcast episodes, right? We want to level up kids across the world. And that she has done. Moore has hosted camps around the globe, including with WNBA star Skylar Diggins. She has hooped it up in Thailand, France, Ghana, and the Dominican Republic. And we are so happy to have you on today's episode. In preparation for the interview today, though, I asked Britnea, what is one topic she was most passionate about? And her response was nutrition. And, it's a subject that, is not a typical part of a coach's practice plan. And, we're talking about kids from K through 8th grade. And I'm so looking forward to see where Britnea takes the discussion today. I definitely have some strong opinions and thoughts and my own experiences as well on the lack of nutrition in general. So Britnea, but before we get started, Britnea, I'd love to hear and share with our listeners your basketball journey.
Absolutely. I started playing when I was in the 2nd grade. In addition to all of the other introductory sports like soccer. I did a lot of track and field. We were a part of the Boys and Girls Club, so we just participated in a variety of sports. But I really took a liking to basketball, so I began to play competitively, and I was always the only girl playing with boys, which was a lot inspired by my parents, who also have, just a heavy background when it comes to sports and a love for particularly basketball. I played all through like the youth sports I participated in, like National Junior Basketball League, And when I started playing competitively in the 5th grade, I still played with the boys. So I played with them all the way up until the 8th grade when we changed the ball size. And so I felt like that was a perfect entry point for me to transition over and start to play with the girls. And in hindsight, that was kind of the kickstart and really, really showed me that, you know, it was such a benefit to play with the boys. Because, I mean, when I was out there playing with the girls, everything was easy because obviously boys at that age, they're faster, they're more aggressive. They, you know, you kind of have to earn your spot on the floor as far as like shooting. And so the work was extra. The work was more difficult, but obviously the reward was 1,000 times better. I played all the way through high school. I played in college. And then I finished my career playing professionally overseas. And I spent 5 years traveling from Puerto Rico, playing for the FIBA national team there. I've spent some time in Munich, Germany. I also played in Barcelona. And then I ended my career in France. So a pretty extensive travel for me. I ended my career a little earlier. My dad was diagnosed with stomach cancer. So I decided to come back home, which was a great decision because he only had like 6 months left. So with my dad being a huge integral part of my career, I thought like after that, you know, tragic, point in my life, losing a parent, I was like, no more basketball for me. I was going to hang up the shoes and just kind of travel the world and go back to school, get my master's, which I ended up doing in sports management. But then there was just a piece that was missing. So I started to train a few kids like locally, just at the park. And at that time I was working as the sports, Saturday sports coordinator and youth sports coordinator for the downtown Berkeley YMCA, which I loved. And I was like, there has to be a way for me to still be immersed in basketball. Yeah. Not just watching it, but be involved. And I didn't want to coach at that time. I just was really enjoying training. But the Y wrote me in, and I took over one of the youth programs who had, they had a decent amount of boys who were really, really talented. So they moved them into the AAU world, and they were like, we need a coach. Do you want to coach? And I was really young at the time. I was like, I don't know X's and O's. So I was
By the way, Brittany, you are still young at the time today. Okay. So just want to point that out.
Oh yeah. So I was like, I don't want to take on this head coach role because I know how tough the AAU world can be. But I was like, hey, let's do it. And so now fast forward, it's funny because my very, very first client, who was also on my team at the time, Demiri Lindo, who his dad is a pretty famous actor, Delroy Lindo. He's in college now. He's going to be a sophomore. And so just to look back, and they were not good back then. Like we were getting blown out by like 30 or 40, 50. But I just had this lovely, lovely group of boys, and I started to train them. And then I fell in love with the skill development piece. Right. And then I started my own business. And the first year, I was going to throw in the towel. I was like, there's no way I could sustain this. Because I didn't know I was going into a completely new arena, right? And on the business aspect, there's so many things, obviously, as an entrepreneur in order to run your own business. So I was like, oh, I don't think this is for me. But I stuck with it. You know, I had a few people in my corner that were like, no, just give it a shot, continue to work. And I always share this story with folks as I hosted my very first basketball all girls clinic. I was like, this is going to be great. I ordered a ton of shirts. I catered a bunch of food. Oh my gosh, there's just so much money that I put out. And I was like, this is going to blow up right now. Like people know me in the area. It was only my first year. They will
come, right?
Yeah. I'm like, I'll have about 50 kids. I had 4 girls that signed up. So I was going to cancel the camp, and my mom said, like, as a new business, like, if I can give you any piece of advice, I would just say, like, don't ever cancel anything. Even if you have
That's
those
right.
4, just rock with those 4. And then, we'll see what will come further. And so I didn't cancel. Those 4 were great. And it was just those word of mouth, right? From those 4 parents that their child had a great time at camp. And then the next, I hosted one like 3 months later. And then, I had like 16.
Sure.
And then I grew over time. And so I just stuck with it. And
so now today you're training on a regular basis. How many kids do you have in your program? About?
I have over 160 athletes that are enrolled in my academy.
That's awesome. Congrats on that. Seeing you stuck with it from the 4 to, 100 and over 100 today. And also a high school basketball coach. So
yes,
you have forgot another thing. And a newborn. So you're a busy person.
Busy parent and trying to balance all of those things. But it's been an awesome learning curve for me.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed the journey like immensely. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's rewarding, right? It's a lot of work, as coaches know. But at the end of the day, it's rewarding. And I have this folder, the reasons why I coach.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get those little emails or those, thank you for, hey coach, thank you for this, thank you for that, I stick them in that folder. So when I get on that bad day, right, I just open up that folder, read, okay, this is the reason why I'm going to, why I stay with it. And I apologize, that's my dog barking in the background. So this is, we're not going to edit that out. That's my dog Friday. It's a little labradoodle. So yeah, my daughter named her. Because Friday is the best day of the week. So
there we go.
Okay, let's go with Friday. It sounds good. All right, so let's talk about the subject of nutrition. First off, what does that even mean in your mind as it relates to youth hoops?
So, this goes back to the whole time when, Michelle Obama jump-started, the Let's Move campaign,
Mm-hmm.
which I was working at the Y back then. And I was just so into it. It was something that I felt I needed to incorporate not only into my own like personal way of being, because as an athlete, right, sometimes I was blessed to just have fast metabolism that was passed down from my parents. I didn't eat well at all in college. Mm-hmm. I didn't eat well at all when I was playing overseas, but I was in the best shape. What I thought was the best shape. I mean, right, physicality. It was. You see results that way, but you're playing basketball 6 hours a day.
Right.
You're lifting weights. You're on these really, really tight regimens and programs. But it wasn't until I started working really, really with the youth where I was like, dang, they have terrible eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, camps and stuff that I started to run where I started to be very, very mindful of what I had at my snack bars, right? Like, as far as like accessibility and ease, you want to go with like the chips and everything that's going to be like candy. That's not the best. We're giving them an hour break, and expecting them to come back the second half of the camp and play games. And then I'm upset if I'm coaching, like, why do you look so tired? Why are you fatigued? And I'm like, well, whatever they fueled their body with an hour ago wasn't the best. So that's kind of where I started to fall in love with the nutrition process.
Yeah.
Especially as it applied to youth and, living and growing up in the Bay Area, I spent a lot of my time in Oakland, and then in just those lower, socioeconomic areas, just they didn't have the accessibility or the knowledge to, understand that nutrition was a huge piece in their growth as not only just a human, but as it applied to being an athlete. So I started there.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with just learning about that campaign. And then I did a bunch of like volunteer work.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Which helped like revamp the policies in schools and after school programs, provided like scientific information about the ways that nutrition plays a role, public awareness. That's kind of where it took off. And then I've just been so involved in it ever since.
So let's break that down then. So so I'm a coach. I'm coaching, let's call it third grade, fourth grade YMCA team. Okay. Mm-hmm. I noticed that my players are coming in to practice a little tired, a little fatigued, maybe showing up for games a little bit tired, fatigued, whatever, just sluggish. Give me some practical tips that I can do on the nutrition side, right? Mm-hmm. To help them.
So I think the first thing is just making it super relatable and simple for the youth. Uh-huh. We can't get so complex that like you need to be eating this amount of protein, how carbs affect your body. It's just really simplicity. Saying what you put in your body will either give you the ability to perform at optimal level, or you're going to find down the road that you will struggle. For instance, Gatorade over, Body Armor. I was a huge fan of Gatorade when I was playing, but once Body Armor came out and, the basis, the scientific piece about like the coconut water and the electrolytes and everything. Yeah. So that I was definitely, I leaned toward that as far as a sports drink. And then just a second thing I would say is like the repetition, just always reminding them, like when they enter the gym, like, what did you eat before? When you leave, like after my huddles, I'm always like, great work. We point out a few things that we need to continue to work on based on what time of the season it is, right? And then I'm always like, when you leave the gym, make sure that you fill your body with something that is going to be of nutritional value. Basic, right? Right. And the more times I say it, the more times it's implanted in their mind. And then, now my high school athletes are like, Coach. Got it, Coach. Got it. I got it. That look, yeah. But, even if some of them only take heed to it, a lot of them, they understand where I'm coming from, because my high school girls, funny story, 2 years ago, days are long, right? Yep. Coaching here at Head Royce, the academics are so rigorous. Then I'm asking you after a long day to show up and be present at practice for 2 hours. And then we might even extend that to watch film. So 2 of my girls DoorDash Taco Bell, right? And they were like, hey, Coach, we'll be right back. We have to, go see the trainer, Bill. I'm like, cool, see you soon. So they run up, they get their DoorDash, and they are stuffing their face in the hallway. Oh, no. Meanwhile, I went out of when we were watching film to refill my water bottle, and I see them down the hallway, and they are just like, their face, they were like, oh no, this is bad. This is bad. So, they're conscious of it, even if they don't practice it on a daily basis. And then I would say the third thing is really, really practicing what you preach. Right. I can't tell my athletes that I expect something out of them. And then here I am walking into the gym with a soda and a bag of chips. So they know that I always walk into the gym. I have my Pellegrino. I have some type of like nutritionist snack, like whether it's nuts. And then, they make fun of me now. But they know it comes with me. And so I
carry this. I have this everywhere. In the car is the big old water bottle.
Water. Mm-hmm.
So a couple of things come to mind. One of the things I think it was my 4th or 5th grade team. Again, coming to the games just sluggish. So I started bringing nutritional bars to practice, to the games. And, we would meet an hour before the game started. They get something in their belly. And I noticed a significant difference just in that now. So I started doing that. And that's one thing that coaches can do. The second thing that you brought up, I think is really important, is just hydration. And if you're a coach, depending on where you are around the country and time of year, making regular stops for hydration. I don't know if you have a rule of thumb. Sometimes, you'll schedule that into a practice. You literally, if you have a practice plan, water break. What I encourage my athletes to do when there's just like a brief downtime, just go grab water. In addition to the breaks that we have, I don't know, what's your philosophy on, because I think, again, it's an important thing to, if you're working these kids hard, if you have an hour practice, hour and a half, 2 hours, that they do get some water in their bodies.
So important. And as I'm gonna be very transparent, like when I first started coaching at the high school level, with the basketball background that I had, I wasn't as mindful about integrating those water breaks into the practice, because I'm like, we only have an allotted amount of time.
Yeah.
I want to prepare my girls.
Can't stop for 30 seconds for water. What are you talking about? Right?
I'm like, we have to maximize all the time that we have in the gym. So, I go back and I actually looked at old practice plans. I'm like, wow,
you're tough, coach.
What's going on? Like, I only factored in 2 water breaks, and then, no, it doesn't work that. And our work rate is so high. And so when you are healthy and you are sweating, you have to hydrate. It's so important. So I learned quickly to make sure I factor in more time for water breaks, but it is the key to getting the best out of your players. Making sure that they not only are eating something of high nutritional value before practice, not a huge meal, but something that's going to give them that energy. And, I'm blessed to be able to be here at Head Royce, where they can go to the cafe and they can grab, a bag of trail mix, like boiled eggs. So they know. And at the start of the season, I give them a list of things that they should be eating before practice for those that have goals to make it to the next level, or the ones that are going to transition into a spring sport, making sure that after practice, they're eating the appropriate things. And then the night, it's always so important. The night before a game is to get those carbs in, like the pastas, like those, that's healthy. Because you're able to, it keeps you full, but then, next day, the ability to burn that off. So,
So let's take that back. So then kind of do a recap here. So I'm a youth coach. Again, I'm coaching kindergarten through 8th grade. Remind them to bring water to practice. Always have a full water bottle, no matter the age, doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
Coaches can schedule frequent water breaks. Encourage them to eat something before a game, before they show up for their game. And go as far as maybe bringing snacks for them, nutritional snacks for the kids before practice or before the games. Anything else that you would suggest? Is that kind of a good summary of what we talked about?
I think that's a great summary. And then Bill, I've done this in the past too, is just offering mini workshops, right? Bringing somebody
that's a great idea.
That's not my background, right?
Right.
I got, my minor was in kinesiology, but, and I've done a lot of work on my own, just learning, because obviously, I want to live the longest that I can. And I know that nutrition plays a huge role. But parents it's not only the child, right?
Right.
Providing the knowledge and the information to the parents. So I've done mini workshops where I'll hire someone else, like a nutritionist, to come in, who specifically works with athletes, not just high level athletes, but the wide gamut, right? And that could break it down for parents on the importance. And sometimes that I've seen, I've seen a huge benefit in doing those workshops for the parents, because they're like, oh yeah, but then they start to think a little, harder about what they are giving their child.
So, and it should be part of the practice plan, just even if it's a simple reminder, even if you're not bringing them something, it's when you do communicate with the parents on your team is, bring up the fact of nutrition, right? Schedule those water breaks, bring snacks if you can, just so the kids have something to eat. Because you'd be surprised. And I know my daughter, she goes to school, no matter how much I tell her, eat before you go to school even, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hungry, right? I'm not hungry. Well, just get a little something in your belly, right? Because you're going to be sitting there for a while before you have your first break. And even just if she would just hydrate in the morning, right? So it's just so important for your body to, even if it's just water, get something in there to kickstart things.
Right. And sometimes I've noticed a lot of parents don't understand the combination of the fluids, the carbs, the proteins, the good fats, and then the sodium, because, you have to replenish, when you're sweating. And so just that little small formula, the parents are like, oh, it makes sense. Why after a long, camp or training, my child hops in their car and they're asleep within 5 minutes on the way home. It's exhaustion.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Britnea, hey, I want to thank you. This is an important topic. I'm glad we touched upon it today on this 11th episode of the Coaching Youth Hoops podcast. Tell coaches where they can find you online.
So they can find me on socials. My Instagram is @accessyourgame. Same handle for Twitter. Same for Facebook as well. And then that's where I post the majority of my stuff. They can also, I have a ton of updates and breakdowns of what I offer on my website, which is www.aygtraining.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes as well. Britnea, thank you so much. We'll see you very soon. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.
All right.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.